Okay, guys, Sam here with you on Thursday, October 11th. We're kind of middle of the day, and just taking a look here at the S&P 500. So pretty good move yesterday, right? We all know about it. Now there's a couple of good things that are worth noting here. So this is the count that I had been working on, and I'm going to propose a revised count here. But I wanted to just go through this, and I went back and forth with one of my students on this, and I think he may be right. So here's the problem with this count. So if we look at this and we're approaching this as our 4. So if we just go back here and say, okay, so we had an A, B, and we had a truncated C here. Well, that would suggest that this is our 1, 2. Well, we run into some problems with this. So in traditional Elliott Wave Theory, you know, they stick to it. Right, they're absolute purists. So in a true ending diagonal is what we'd have here. If this is properly identified, so let's do it this way. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'd be up for the 5. So that would be the pattern. That would be the 5 wave we'd be completing. Here's the overlap of the 4 of the 1, implying diagonal. And it's all just fine until we get to this 5th wave, because we have an impulsive structure here. All right, and that's problematic. So, and it's to the tick perfect right here. So if this is, so we get this 1, 2, 3 down for the 4, 1, 2 of 5. So it looks like 5 finishes here down for the 2. Yeah, that's a deep 2. 3, we do not overlap the 1. So you'd end up with, so we'd have A, B, C into the 1, A, B, C into the 3. Here's the 4 overlapping, creating the diagonal, but we don't get an A, B, C. So in an ending diagonal, you need 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Now, in a leading diagonal, we could have 3, 3, 3, 5. Or pardon me, it would be 3, 3, 3, 3, 5. We could in a leading diagonal, but if this is an ending diagonal, we have a problem up here because the structure doesn't work, right? So the alternates are, well, maybe the 3 is wrong. That doesn't work as well, because this is the tell that's right in here. All right, so this, because we got a 1, 2, 3, 4, and we finish. Now we do finish with a diagonal, right? So the 4 overlaps, and this is very technical. So as I recall from this here to this length of our 1 down to our 2. All right, so we just missed the 6, 1, 8. You know, it has more of now this has more of an ABC structure. You could probably make a case for an ABC, but we don't get the overlap. So we end up with an impulse here. So that's the problem with this count, right? So you can go, well, shit, why does it matter now? Well, to some degree, it's a question of what's happening here. Do we have a major top in? Well, I'm definitely not ready to go there yet. So we have something significant. So let's think about it. So first question is, let me get this off of here. Why does it stop there? Always the first question. Well, you could start just doing basic stuff. Okay, well, looks like this was some prior resistance to the market. Resistance, got through resistance. Maybe. Well, of course, right, you know what I'm going to do first, right? We're going to go from a swing low here. We're going to draw that up, and what do? So it's nothing crazy, right? So fuck, sky is falling. What do we do? Fuck, right to the 50. So I mean, pretty much, if you looked at that before the day started and you said, man, I know a sell-off is coming for whatever reason, and you drew that up, where would you anticipate it going? I mean, it's to the tick, right? Right? So nothing random, right? In the S&P, you have nothing random happen. Or if it does, it's very, very rare. So swing low, swing high, we go to the 50, right? So what happens there? Right? It's the algorithms kick in, right? They start buying. Now that doesn't mean that this can't break. It just you don't have to wonder what happened there. Now, so you look at that and you go, okay, well that gives me a target up here substantially higher. Now, is that possible? Well, let's think about that. Well, let's say, for example, since it's a 50, we got a couple of scenarios here. Well, this is the 4 and all we've done, right? So think back to the original count. Right, so now we could have a 3, 3, 3, 3, 5 as a leading diagonal. So if this potentially could be just the 1 wave of a much larger wave still yet to come. A little harder to buy into that, right? So if you just think a little bit about some of the backdrop of fundamentally what's happening in the market, and we're now in the process of going through earnings season. I'm not. I'd be surprised if this is a 1-2 and we're going to go a 1-6, 1-8 of that. That would be surprising, right? That would be really surprising. So is this a major pivot? Well, it certainly could be, right? So this was a technical pivot. So I think let's go back down. Let me go to an hour. You can see here, right? When I showed it on the NASDAQ, it's very technical pivot here. So you just start checking and say, so up here you go, same question. Why does it stop there? Right? What's there? So if I go from 2 to 3, right? So here we have this. So, right again, right? So here's the perfect. So it doesn't quite make the 50 here. Could it be that this is the support that keeps it, right? Is that why we don't overlap? Well, shit, we'll never know. But note here, right? So if the fact that it doesn't overlap here and we go straight to target and then we tap it again before that. So yet again, you look at that and you go, well, again, I know nothing random happens in the S&P. So talk about an algo reaction. Shit, that's pretty serious. So we have a contender here for a substantial top, but we can't really confirm it as a major top until we break the 65. So we got to go back. So if I go back to that 4 hour, we got to break that 65, right? So there's just too many candidates here that are still available. I think I had that noted as that was a fib extension. So if this is 1-2, which is right, we got to allow for that possibility, right? So we've hit a 50. So a couple of scenarios here. So I had before the big sell-off, we had a little ABC here. So I just trying to organize it. Again, it's all Elliott Wave is trying to do, organize it. So if there's a little 3-wave, that could be a WXY. It's a pretty substantial Y. If we dig into this move down, it's been essentially just straight down. So do we have any, we really don't have a lot to work with in the move. Now you could make a case here that you have some sort of an A, you got a little 3-wave B here, so you have to allow for a very shallow B. So you might very well have that. So how are we going to know? Well, of course, we got to get through a few critical retracements. So first one, just from that swing to that swing, you can see, well, that's worth looking at. Let's bring this back down here. So look how deeply oversold the RSI got, right? So, but this is certainly something impulsive. So what are the alternates, right? We only have a couple of choices, right? So either it's 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to finish a 5-wave structure to complete an A wave. That's certainly possible, which would imply if we were to come back here, and this is kind of what I laid out in the NASDAQ video. So if we get something like this into that 50, well, that is a trade you seriously have to look at, because all that would do, then we'd have a 5-wave structure coming down, right? But you got to put that in the larger context. And so let me go back to the 3 hour and say, well, where would that put us? Let's just say, for the sake of discussion, if we were to come down here and tag that, well, where would that put us? Well, again, I'm just using the dominant pivot here before we go up. So I grab that and I think, okay, if that's swing low to swing high, well, that would put us, well, in the NASDAQ, it was literally splitting the gold zone. Here, you'd have a front run on the 618. And note here on my wave 1 pivot, which happens to be point of control. So we have the most market acceptance right there. So this is so visible range. So from swing low to swing high, as I look at the market profile over here, here is the maximum amount of trading volume happen right there. Thus the point of control, right? This is market acceptance. Right, gets a little skinnier as we went up. So if we were to come back down to this level, I sure would want to be paying attention to that, because you're looking for a reaction there. So if this is going to play as an A wave, then we're going to get a B wave coming back down here, and then a C wave, right? And now we might have something more substantial happening. Right now, we've just had a straight move to the 50. Sure, right? This is the classic, right? We go up the stairs, we come down the escalator. So it's down moves are always abrupt. You get the panic, like, fuck, Mark, sky's falling. And all we did was go to a 50, right? It wasn't really radical. It's just pretty, and in fact, just quite technical. So pretty much exactly what you'd anticipate. So if we get this little ABC into this 50, I sure would be paying attention to that. I would want to know about that as a potential short. Now, again, you got options as to, I should say it this way, you have choices as to how you would want to construct a short position there in the S&P. right? You could use options, could use futures, could use a CFD. There's a couple of different ways you could approach it, but I sure would be paying attention as we got back to that 50 for a potential short. So you'd be looking to trade the B into the C, right? And knowing that there's going to be algorithmic support down here, you're likely to see a reaction. You could just be setting up for the move out of that range, and for all we know, this is just a 2, right? It would be more consistent with the fact that we could potentially have a leading diagonal here. Hard to know. So right now, we're just looking for a bounce from 150 to the next. Now, all bets are off if we go down, we break the 65. Now we have something much more substantial underway, and we'd have a pretty substantial trend change if we break this, right? We got to break it pretty substantially, and not just with a wick come through it and then bounce right back. But if we do break it, then of course we know there'll be an algorithm that will go from that swing high. If we break it, wherever we pivot, the first 50 back will be a must-take trade. So it's a little up in the air here because the fact that we've bounced technically here, it's a little bit early. Now here's the alternate trade. I'll show you this here just so. For Elliotticians that are looking at going, that can't be, man, can't be. All right, well, let me show you the alternate here. So I do have this in log scale. So here's the question. So this is a account that I was kind of fussing with this morning that may be a real contender. So it would suggest that we do have a significant pivot in here, right? So that's right. We still have the possibility that all of this all we're going to do is pivot here and go right up to that. So that's very much alive. So you have to respect that because the longer term trend is still up. So the fact that even though that's big and scary and that's a huge move, right, it's just a 50 to a swing. So you would really be anticipating this. If that holds, you're anticipating that. Right? As I always tell you, you trade them until they fail. Until this 65 breaks, the expectation would be that we're going to do that. Right, so here, then we'd have to think about that. Well, so then we'd have a 1. So can we get an impulse into a 3? And I'll show you how we can. If that holds, all you have is the potential for a 1, 2, 3, deep 4. Granted, it's a deep 4. But if that's going to pop and go, well, you just got an impulse to finish that 5. And that would actually, the symmetry of that looks quite good. So no reason to assume that we're not going to do that just yet. Right, so with that taken off, so here was the area that I thought was, created some possibilities here. So the alternate is that what we've had here is a triangle. So we have A, B, C, what was in the other count considered a 1, 2, that we have just a C, D, E. All right, so we get a triangle. So thus, right, so this creates a little bit of a challenge with the algo. So if you're thinking, if that's my 4 and you're pulling with your Elliott hat on, well, so it's worth looking at, right? So, but now we're kind of in no man's land. But if, again, an algo is not factoring in an Elliott wave count. It's just using dominant pivot. So even if we go all the way back here. Now here with us, we've not made the 50, but note this 1 will be important. So if it's ABC and this is the 4, right? No way to know just yet, no way to confirm it. If that's the 4 and then this is a 1, 2, then the prior count plays. If we have this triangle and this is our 4 and it's A, B, C, D, E into this pocket, then we can go. So then we get this. So it's a little easier if I draw this. So I get 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. That would complete it. Right, so 1, 2, 3. So if we look in there, I've got to have an impulse within that third for this to qualify. So let me take this off and let's go down. Let's see if we can do it in an hourly. So no, I'm still in log scale and it won't make much difference here. So let me get this off. All right, so if this is a 1, 2, right? So if this is an E wave and not a 2 wave. So then we're going 1, 2, what, right? So this 1 is important, but it's not relative to this move here, right? So the fact that we hold this, so we could have a 1, 2, so we got to measure, right? So we take the length of 1 projected from the 2, all right? So we certainly qualify. We get, beyond the 272. Now here's part of why I was leaning into the other count is because we have the zone up here. But if we look 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So we don't overlap the 1, so we have an impulse. Right, so this would be the 3, 4, 5 of the third. All right, so don't just because that overlaps. So this, let me finish it for you. So it would be from here. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now obviously that's way too big. So let's get that down and we'll get this up so it makes sense. I think if I find it helpful if you do this, I'd encourage you to do the same so you don't lose track of where you are in the larger degrees. So 1, 2, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 doesn't threaten this one. Up we go for the 5 of 3, right? Down. Now here's the 4 relative to this 1. We don't overlap, thus creating the impulse to give us the third up here. I guess that should go up a degree. We'll go to subminuet. All right, so there's 1, 2. So that count, and then we finish here. It looks like, whether this is the C, it looks like we finish with a little diagonal. So let me open that up. So we end. So if it, so let me finish it for you. So here, right here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go down, and we'll put that in. Put that in green. Okay, so with this 4 overlapping the 1, so we have a diagonal. So we're anticipating an ABC. Now we have a deep 4. So let's check it. So in any diagonal, we're looking for the relationship between the start of the third wave, right? Start of the third wave. And let me open this up so you can see it. And the pivot of the 4. That's where we're looking to be technical. So what do? Right to the golden zone. And now we got 2 and through target here. Right, relative to this diagonal that's finishing here. In fact, we get second target. That's likely just a little front run on the second target. So I have this 3, my 5 of 3, 3, A, B, C for my 4, 1, 2, 3, overlap the 4, A, B, C finishes the diagonal. Right, so you've got a pretty good contender up here, and then you'd be anticipating the A, B, C to finish that. So looks like you've got the A, B, and then where's the C, right? So it'd have to be down here. So we'd have to go this way. So that's the proportion there is a bit crazy. So obviously the length of the C is, we don't have great structure. So let's think about that. So if we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, it looks like a truncation in the 5th of the A wave, but then I get my little ABC into the B, so I'd want to measure that. Length, I'm going to take length of the A projected from the B. All right, so we're beyond 3. So looks like 6.618 or 5.618. So we're so far beyond it, we're beyond the normal metrics given this scale here on the hourly. So the other alternate is that you'd be coming from this B, that all we've done is 1, 2. This is the 3. The 4 is coming, and the 5 is still coming. That would be more consistent with the idea that we're going down to that 618. All right, and all we've done here is just tap the 50. So this, you could certainly see a 1, 2, 3. Obviously, that's an impulse, right? We get fairly deep down here, so lots of volume, of course. So now we come back, so you'd be looking for this coming back. I'd be pulling from the 2 to the 3, right? Just like you would for any, looking for the 4th. Well, could that be it? Well, yeah, sure, could be. All right, let's go down to the 15. See, do we have 3 waves coming out of there? Yeah, you could make a case that that's it. All right, so A, B, C. Well, it's not gorgeous here. So you'd have 1, 2, boy, you'd have to allow for a very skinny 3, 4, unless that's 3, 4, and then we shallow on the 5. So essentially we've got a triple bottom down here. So I wouldn't be quite ready to call that 4 just done just yet. But from this pivot to this 4, right? If you get that, I'd certainly want to know about it. So if that's going to go down there and complete, and we're going to get that last little pocket, where's my 5 over here? So this would complete us down here. Get this C coming back over here. Let's go up a degree on that so you can see it. That would give us a completed ABC with 5 in the C. All right, all that does is tee us up. So let me get back to, let's go to a 3-hour. Okay, again, so same idea here. What if it's going to stop there, how would that relate to where we are, right? And it's just as I showed you. So again, which pivot? Well, you're not going to know until you see the reaction. So again, here we have this one, and then we have this one, right? The all the way, hard to know. Or if this is the E, is this it? Right, now that would put the target just beyond. So note here, the target is just beyond the 65. right? So that would be 1, 2. So that's certainly a contender. You got to pay attention to it. So we'd have this structural prior resistance offering that could have been the support that was there for that. So this is really a tricky call. So how do you know? Well, you've got to go down to those smaller time frames and try and dig the good count out of that last swing down. If it's going to do this, is this the 4? It's a little too soon to call it. So that this last move down has got to be consistent with a good Elliott count to have confidence that you've got a buy down here. So we're going to need to see something. So this would be an impulse, barring this going all the way back up here, which would reduce the probability that it's a 4. This needs to look good. So we need to have good symmetry here. So if we're going to come down, we need to get a little something like this to get us down there. That would give us the 5 right to target in the buy zone on the idea that we're respecting the longer term trend, which still, despite this sell-off, is still certainly up. We're just trying to organize. Well, what is happening here? Can we use Elliott Wave and the algo pulls to organize it? What's most likely to happen next? Well, if I get up to this 50, I want to know about that. So I'd have an alert as we approach it, looking for a possible sell on this larger degree here. So I would look for that. All right. So again, if it pushes too much further beyond that, right, you're reducing the probability that we have a 1, 2, 3, and the 4 would go that deep. Yeah, it can happen, but it reduces the probability that we're going to go down to new lows there. It would be surprising to see the 4 go that deep if we're going to finish this 3, 4, 5. Right? I don't know that you've got a good case here to say that we're done. You'd have to be trading it this way, thinking that the 4 was in, that we came down here and we're done with a double bottom at the 50. Possible, but seems less likely, right? That we'd have such a skinny 5. So my inclination would be to be looking, if we're looking for the buy side, I'd be looking for it down here closer to the 618, where we'd get that combination of an Elliott pattern completing in sync with an algo target, and then an algo buy zone here. So again, we know what happened here. We can anticipate what will happen here. Again, it doesn't mean it can't break. It's just that we know there's going to be participation there. So can bears overwhelm it and take it down? Well, if they do, then we got to rethink the whole count. So something more substantial is happening. So yeah, so both of these, I think there's a trade here to trade from, if we get this 50 down to target. I think that's very tradable. I'll be looking long and hard at that. If we do get this roadmap, I'd also be looking long and hard here. If we come down towards the 618, that'll be last stand. Why do I like those trades? Because you can trade them with a very small stop, right? So there's your risk for potential reward being, well, you'd anticipate a full retrace of the entire thing. So if you now put the whole thing back together, you go back to that absolute top, and again, for the sake of discussion, let's say we pivot down here. Well, you'd have a pretty good target right here, just getting back to the 50. That's 04 to that's almost 25 points right there. Right, it looks deceptive here, but these are such big swings. So from the 618 back to this 50, which is what you'd anticipate, if this is going to be an A wave and we're going to get 5 out of this, and we're going to go into the B of a larger degree, then that kind of a move here, that would be a nice little payday. That'd probably take a couple of days to get there. Well, shit, in this volatility, maybe not. Could do it in a day. That's 25. That could easily do that in a day. All right, the S&P likes 20-point moves. It likes increments of 10. So 10, 20, 30. You can see this. We had a move this morning that was just gigantic. All right, so it likes those round numbers in terms of swing. the swing range is very common to see 20-point swings in the S&P. So pay attention here. Now this is high volatility, high risk. Right, volatile market, some nervous money in the market. Right, everybody is just anticipating it's just one more dip to buy. Right, and until proven otherwise, until a major 65 is broken, that thinking has been a profitable approach to the market, buying every dip, despite how scary. Again, all we did was just put in just tag a 50. All right, guys, so I'd pay attention here. I'd have some alerts targeting that 50 as it comes back up. I'd pay attention there. There should be some good opportunities. And with that, I will wrap and just encourage you to give us a follow over on Twitter. We appreciate you guys that follow us here. And if you're interested in joining us, you can always learn more about it over on our website, or come on over to our public Discord that's free to join and get sort of a taste of what we're all about. All right, guys. Talk to you later.